Today I'm cooking the Lord Woolton Pie. It was recently published in the Times magazine, and lots of my friends said that the recipe is delicious using simple seasonal vegetables. The recipe was created by François Latry, the main chef of the kitchen of Savoy Hotel in London. The recipe uses seasonal vegetables, so it can really change, and it's very flexible and adaptable depending what you have in your kitchen.
I began to sigh, looked up at the sky.
I'm going to start with chopping all the vegetables. So peel and chop 1 pound of potatoes. Depending on the size of your potato and what you like, you can either have smaller chunks or you can have larger chunks. For pie, you probably would need larger chunks so it doesn't overcook and turns into mash, unless you prefer things a bit mashy. François Latry from Savoy London Hotel was thinking and came up with this recipe in response to food shortages. So the hotels also had to stick to the rationing rules. The guests in the hotels still expected something nice and delicious, and staff had to be quite creative to still maintain the standards of the food served in such hotels as Savoy London, and at the same time be consistent with what's available. I think the fact that it was created by the master chef of Savoy Hotel in London also played on people's mind that it must be good. The recipe was first publicized in April 1941 and presented as economical and wholesome, and then it was presented to the public. So the public has accepted it widely, and it became one of the staple dishes in 1940s Britain. Next, we need 1 pound of carrots, chopped finely. I'm going to chop mine in thicker slices because it will have to go through the process of pre-cooking and then baking, so I don't want my carrots to break and turn into mash. Not too thick, but at the same time thick enough so they can tolerate the cooking process. The Woolton Pie was named after Frederick Marquis, the first Earl of Woolton, who served as British food minister from 1940 to 1943. Chop 1 pound of parsnips or any other vegetables that you can find in your fridge and use. Depending on the size of the parsnip, so mine is quite thick at the root and thinner towards the end, so I'm going to chop into the thicker part like this one. I will chop one more time and just leave this size, the smaller ones, as they are. At the beginning of food shortages and wider rationing across Britain, people really had to adapt to the completely new way of cooking and the new diet. So naturally, people would not be happy to change everything completely and to not have access to certain products that they used to, like meat and other products. So publishing recipe and the reputable magazines such as Times and a recipe that was recommended by the master chef in one of the top hotels in London would really play tricks in people's minds. So if the top chef recommends it, must be good and must be sophisticated. So a lot of the time the Ministry of Food has used experts in their field to access to deliver certain messages to the public. Pretty much the same thing they're doing nowadays as well. They use the opinion of experts to convince the public to change certain behaviors. But Woolton pie is one of those dishes that is really good. It's not just something that the government told people is good. In reality, it is good and nutritious. Okay, I've got all my vegetables chopped. Now I'm going to pre-cook my vegetables. The recipe calls to boil slightly for 10 minutes, but I will saute my vegetables because I find that this process takes out the best taste out of the vegetables. And with a tablespoon of oil or butter, saute for 10 minutes. Or now is the time to add spring onion. Just stir briefly so the spring onion has a chance to be exposed to the high heat and release the best out of it. Now I'm going to add a cup of water. I said a cup of water, but in reality, the amount of water depends on the amount of vegetables you have. So the water should not cover the vegetables completely. So just enough of water that the vegetables are all in the water, but it's not over the top. I will also add about a teaspoon of flour, just to thicken the sauce a little bit. Season with salt and pepper to your taste. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt and leave to simmer for about 5 or 7 more minutes. You can also add bay leaf to your vegetables if you have some. I left my vegetables to boil for another 7 minutes. And if after some time you come up and you see that your vegetables are ready, but the water didn't really reduce that much, don't worry, take out some of this water and use it for gravy. And this is exactly what happened to me. I have quite watery vegetables. Although the consistency is very nice, perfect for gravy, I'm going to take some of it out towards the end and make a gravy out of it. Now I'm going to prepare my pie dish and then transfer the vegetables into it. Now let's transfer the vegetables into the pie dish. That's a good amount of vegetables for my pie dish. And I have enough of gravy here, so I don't want it to be too soggy. And look at this beautiful gravy that I'm leaving behind. I will add a little bit more water, a little bit more flour to it, and use it as a base for my gravy to go with my pie. And sprinkle with greens to your taste. I'm using parsley. I love parsley and coriander. I can add it anywhere if I could. Looks beautiful already. Now it's time to make a pie crust. Preheat the oven to 190 to 100 degrees, which is medium. For the pie crust, I'm going to sieve a cup of flour, which is about 250 grams, with a teaspoon of baking powder and salt. The original recipe says that you can also use a mashed potato crust mixed with flour or just on its own. Add 80 grams of margarine or butter. I like to cool my butter on margarine before that and then grate it into the flour. I feel this way it spreads more evenly and mixes with flour better. Now mix with your fingertips. The pie vegetables smell so good. Now gradually start adding a little bit of liquid, either milk or water, to form a thick dough. So I start with a little bit of milk. Here I have 60 ml of milk, but I don't think I will need to use all of that. You just have to see. Okay, I think this is enough. I'm not going to add any more milk. I'm going to mix the dough now and see how it goes. So this is my dough ball. That would be enough to cover my pie dish. Now I leave it on the floor surface to rest for 10 minutes. Okay. Now let's roll the pie crust. A little bit larger than your pie dish. I will take some of this pie crust to make some decorations. So I'm going to cut a little bit on the edges to put around on the edges of my pie dish. Like that. Put the cut out pie crust bits around the edges of my pie dish. the other way around. The scraped, the unneat parts of your crust, these ones, go inside the pie dish and the neat ones stay outside. Now cut out a little bit more for the decorations. And let's cover the pie. Pull it up a little bit and join the top, the dough that we put around the edges, with your pie cover. Then it is really up to your imagination how you would like to decorate the top of your pie and the edges. I have this lovely decorative spoon which has the very nice top that I'm going to press against my pie edges to form the nice flowery patterns. This spoon came to me in my dowry from my mother. She got it from her mother in her dowry, and her mother got it from her mother-in-law. So this spoon is about 60 years old now. You need to make a hole in the middle. I form a couple of patterns with the hole in them. Something like that. Cut out some leaves. In the middle. Every bit of dough will be used. We don't waste anything in our times. wash with milk. The pie is ready to go into the oven. Bake for half an hour. And while my pie is baking, I'm going to prepare a delicious gravy, that the base of which I already have. For the base for my gravy, I used the leftover sauce from the vegetables. Then I added a cup of water, about 250 ml, a tablespoon of flour, and a teaspoon of butter. Mix it all up and simmer it for about 10 minutes on a very low heat. It came out nice, smells delicious, and you can season to your taste: salt, pepper, or some other spices. The pie is ready. Time for dinner. I'm going to serve with gherkins. I thought, let's try, because the pie itself has quite plain taste and it's not very sharp, so I thought adding a little bit of sharpness might be a good idea. Lord Woolton Pie, quite falling apart, but smells absolutely delicious. Some gravy, couple of gherkins, let's try this pie that everyone's talking about. It's quite plain in taste, as expected, because you only have vegetables and a little bit of vegetable gravy again, but the vegetables go very well together, and the spring onions add the lovely taste. And also I think that the vegetables were sauteed, so that is a bit better than just boiled, so adds a little bit more taste to it as well, because the vegetables bake through really nicely, and the spring onions and potatoes and carrots all go really well together and complement each other, and the vegetable gravy is delicious too. Tastes great. The pastry is baked very nicely, the main pastry bit, but the edges a little bit overcooked. So I think maybe towards the end you can either reduce the heat or cover it with parchment paper to avoid that. But other than that, tastes amazing. Now let's try and see how would it go with the gherkin as the side. I have a little bit of potato, crust, carrot, try it with gherkin. Yes, it added this sharpness that I was talking about. It's very good. Gherkin really is going well with that quite plain dish. It complements it really nicely. Love it. If you would like to try to bake the Lord Woolton Pie, a staple dish from the 1940s, I highly recommend to add bay leaf and to serve it with gherkin as a side. It will add a little bit of a sharpness that the dish itself is lacking. And let me know if you tried the dish. You can write and share your experiences about how it was and what did you serve it with. I'm looking forward to all your feedback about it.